it stops for some reason.
Yeah, it just came up with how many minutes are left, and then it just that sort of stopped it.
Oh, okay, it stops. Sorry.
Right. Okay.
Hopefully we haven't missed too much.
No, that's it. Just did it then. It just did it then that second.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So you want good tension there. So I've still got my shoulder blades pulled down and in. I've got a little bit of hips coming up, but not quite so much. I could hold this position for 10, 20 reps, whatever. And I'm just going to bring my grip in a little bit. So the stroke now is a lot longer. You see that?
Yeah.
Big difference, yeah? So that's the difference between more of a bodybuilding bench press and a powerlifting bench press. Right, who wants to have a go?
Go on then, Nat. It's a big moment.
I think for Nat, maybe we need to move this up a bit for you, do we? Because that's actually right for me. So.
Yeah.
Do you want it up a notch? Yeah. Right, so from Nat's benching. Oh, you did it there. I didn't think I need to deadlift. Yay. Okay, so you're going with more of a bodybuilding style. Okay. So he's drying his nails off there again. Sorry. Okay, that'll do. Okay, so what do you notice?
It looks like your back is flat. Was it flat?
I think his chest's quite hurt there. Yeah, I would say. Yeah, just a little bit of a gap there. Do you understand? Yeah, sit up for a second, Nat. I don't want to. Yeah, you'd probably pass out if we keep down there for a while. It'll come out. I just want to go over why it doesn't really have that much of an impact on someone's back arching. Right, and that is because the force is coming towards you. Right, so the force is trying to flatten you out. So you're pushing against the force. In the squat, the bar's trying to push you forward. You push against that.
Yeah.
Okay? In a sit-up, alright, not that I'm a big fan of sit-ups, but the force is trying to flatten you out, so you're bending against the force there. Okay? And if you do that, you're not going to hurt your back. Okay? You push, you're almost creating opposite tension. Yeah. Right? So if you're bench pressing and you keep your rib cage up, and if something happens, what's going to happen? You're just going to flatten out anyway. So all these people say, oh no, you can't arch your back, it's bad for your back. You know, if your back goes on a bench press, it would have probably gone getting up afterwards if it hadn't there. Because there's an underlying issue.
And what about people with real huge lumbar curves? You know, they're already got a massive arch. And
okay. I'll tell you what, there's some great videos, especially the female bench pressers, because obviously women are a bit more flexible, and you see some of their arches. Wow, they are like that on the bench. But again, because the force is pushing to flatten them out, and all they're doing is holding that position, you might get some spasms in your upper back, and maybe even lower back a little bit. But you're not going to get any spinal issues.
What about if they're finding it struggling to keep their feet on the floor, putting their feet on the end of the bench to keep the...
No, I'd say
pressure.
blocks. I'd say blocks.
Blocks.
Yeah. So, or a couple of plates. So if you've got someone who's
they're struggling.
Let's say using this monster bench, right?
Yeah.
And like if I was benching off that in competition, I'd probably have a plate under each foot, so I could plant myself. But I wouldn't have your feet the same height as your hips.
Okay.
Because then you're losing leg drive, right?
Yeah.
And B, also you then might get the hips coming up, which you want to guard against. That tends to happen when people are maxing out. You see the hips just leave the bench. That's when you can get pulled muscles in the back. Okay, because they tend not to come up evenly. They might come up and then because they've got a weak side, it might shift over to that side. Yeah, then you can get trouble. But if the hips stay on the back, if the hips are in contact with the bench and the shoulder blades are in contact with the bench, the big
matter in the middle.
doesn't matter. No, the only thing that happens is you go into spasm and you cramp up. And that's why there's a difference between, I would say, if you're doing sets of 8, 10, 12, whatever, then you don't go into a powerlifting position, even if you're a powerlifter. So when I do high rep sets of bench press, I don't arch that much, but I like to keep tension there. Yeah, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, going back to that's bench there. So, anything else that you guys noticed?
Oh, I noticed
Talking
that.
about the leg drive. Explain a bit more about that. So it's literally, obviously.
I'll tell you what, I'll do that in a sec.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Anything? Thanks, Mickey. Anything else? Yeah, I joked about the fingers. Okay.
Yeah.
If your hands are open, you're not creating as much tension as you can. Every lift, you've got to crush the bar.
And there's also, I've read, it's almost also like you put the bar apart.
Pull the bar apart.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So on the bench press, pulling the bar apart is really good because that creates more tightness in the upper
What's
back
that
as
one?
well.
What's that?
So
Pull the bar apart.
Yeah.
So you're pulling that way
That's it.
Yeah.
while letting it come down.
That's right. That's
Oh,
right.
you're
So if you pull the bar apart, you feel here.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's what you try.
Okay.
Yes, it's coming back to, you remember when we were talking about pulling the belly button in, I said it's all about building a base. Well, your base for the bench press is your upper back. So you get that base, you shrug your shoulder blades back and down, but you keep those lats, in bodybuilding terms, you really want to thicken the back out there. It's a bit like when they do the back double bicep pose, and they're pulling everything back and down. It's almost like that. Is that a bad analogy? Should I not mention bodybuilding? Okay. The one thing I noticed, and this is not criticism. You lifted it out. You went up like this, and if you shrug the bar out too much, you're going to lose upper back tightness. So once you're set, you want your shoulder blades back and down and set there. You almost want to pull the bar over, slide it over. That's why it's so important to have the bar the right height. And I'd actually say, with heavy sets, you'd want to lift off. So you'd want someone behind you to position the bar for you. Okay? I think a lot of shoulder injuries happen because people, they lift it out too far, or they have the bar too high and they shrug. They shrug. And also, they're lifting it out, the bar's level at the top of their head and they're bringing it all the way over here. And that can actually mess up. You sort of think that's internal rotation, but it's your external rotators which are controlling it, and you can mess up your external rotators by lifting the bar out too far. So when you're lining up, and it depends on where you're benching to. So for me, I'm benching to my lower chest. I will actually line up so the bar's about collarbone height, so I can lift it out, I can slide it over, and I'm there, and I can bench. Okay, if you bench a little bit higher up your chest, then you might line up to chin level. And obviously, it also matters. This is quite. You've done well with the power level, man. That's a nice power. Because it's not these ridiculously deep, angled hooks on this. You see the benches where they're sort of like twice as high and they're at an angle like this, and that you have to almost lift it out.
Right.
They're awful. That's just a sign of this rack was designed by someone who doesn't lift. Right there. Right. So, if you're in a rack like this is a nice rack. You can just pull it over and put it in that position. If you're in a rack with those hooks, I'd say anything over about 80% get a lift off.
Can you show me the difference between pulling it over and lifting it out?
Yeah. Okay. I'll just do that quickly now. Okay. So lifting it out would be that. You see, so the bar's coming up here, and my shoulders are shrugged up. That's taking the grip from the upper back tension. So sliding the bar out and putting my shoulders down. That's awful, right? There.
So you literally just scrape your
Just the minimum.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not having to lift it back behind you, kind of.
Not at all. And as I say, if I was doing anything over, well, I don't mind lifting off myself most of the time, but yeah, if I get to 90%, I'm getting it.
Right.
Okay, Nat, you're talking about leg drive.
Yeah.
Right, if you set up again, as long as you don't mind being molested here. Okay, right. Now, pull your shoulder blades down in it. That's it, that's good. Okay, now hips up to your shoulder blades. That's it.
So his hips are actually up off the bench now?
No, his butt should be on the bench.
Right.
His butt on the bench?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch your butt. Right, okay. Now, what you can do is slide your feet back a bit more. Push your knees down and get the hips up. Okay, slide your feet back a little bit more. Back towards your head. Even on your toes. Right, push your knees down. There you go. And now, you feel the difference there?
Yeah, yeah.
That's leg drive.
Right.
Yeah. Now hold that position and pull the bar over. There you go. Get that chest high, down, and blow it up. Nice and fast up. Yeah. Yeah.
Difference.
Yeah. And it's weird, you know. I've come across people regularly who, you know, a decent bench pressers, they'll be benching 100 kilos or so, or 80 kilos or whatever. And there's a guy, it was a couple of years ago, and I just said, okay, look, try this. We put 20 kilos on his bench, just like that. The guy thought I was some freak. My God, how'd you do that? But he was starting for, even though he wasn't a, you know, there's a decent weight issue, about 90 kilos or so. We had him do 110 in the end. He had no base of support. His legs were just sitting there, nothing was going on. His back was just flat on the bench. He'd take the bar out and it would wobble all over the place. If the bar's wobbling when you take it out, you're not tight enough. Okay, it should be bang, right there, and off you go. Okay. Right, now, variations of bench press. You know, we talked about to create a longer press, so more movement.
Chris, I was just kind of quickly interject there or something.
Yeah.
Quickly, just talk about the. I noticed just looking at Nat's technique there on his shoulders. I mean, something that you always sort of taught me was the kind of angle of the shoulders. You always said that I was too wide adducted, my shoulder was too. So I noticed Nat was in a good position there, a safe shoulder position that he had.
Yeah, thanks, Mickey. Well done. Yeah. So what Mickey's talking about here is as you come down. So if you were looking at me from above bench pressing, you would see this. You see the angle of my elbow. Sorry, the angle of my elbow to my shoulder. It's almost at a 45-degree angle because I want to bring the bar down to the highest point of my body. I don't want to push it any further than I have to. And there are a few differing opinions here. Louis Simmons, Westside Barbell, says as you push up in a straight line. That's the shortest distance, right? Bill Carpenter of oh God, what's his gym called? Oh, Metal Militia, I think it is. He'll talk about more of a J, more of a lockout over the shoulder. So it'll be tuck and then flare at the top. Okay? And do you know what? It depends on your build, your shoulders, yeah, all that sort of stuff. It's a bit tough on the rotators pushing straight out. Okay? I find that a little bit tough. I tend to come up and look out over my collarbone. That's the easiest place to hold it. So you've almost got a clash of physics here, right? The shortest distance is there, but the easiest place to hold it is here.
So if you're inclined to pop a shoulder, bring it out here rather than down straight, it's just going to...
I totally agree with that. Right, so that's one thing. But also you see a lot of, you know, in bodybuilding, and it might actually go back to Vince Gurunda, the Iron Guru, you remember him? Yeah? And he used to talk about performing the neck press. Right, and he'd bring the barbell down to the neck, and I read as a teenager Unleashing the Wild Physique, and I started doing this, and I think that might have messed up my shoulder a bit as well. So he'd bring the bar down to the collarbone, again, to really increase that range of motion, but the stress on the shoulder capsule is immense. Okay? Therefore, I think it's best to try and teach your clients to bench with a certain, we call this tucking the elbows, right? So with a certain tuck. Now it doesn't have to be as much as me coming down to actually what is really the upper abs, right? It might be here, but there's still a tuck. This is really tough on the shoulders, really tough on the shoulders. Yeah, for two reasons. First of all, it's a vulnerable position for the shoulder, and secondly, that range of motion has just been increased. Yeah, if you get someone who's quite deep-chested, yeah, that's to the net, from here to the net, that's probably 6 inches, maybe more of depth. Yeah, that's a big increase there, massive increase. Right, so if no matter what you do, and I've done things like, where's those bands gone?
I don't know. I suppose.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Or do you want your own? On
That's right. I can use the Monster Mini here. Yeah, you can do things like, okay, I wouldn't do it with a Monster Mini, but you can do things like this to keep your elbows in as a training tool. Okay, that would be way too heavy, by the way. You do it with a mini band, or even a Dynaband. Okay. Yeah, but if, despite all that, what often happens is that up to a certain stage they can keep the tuck, and then as the weight gets heavier at certain intensities, the elbows will flare out and they'll revert to kind, as we all do in every lift, right? You know, technique is great, but technique will break down with maximal loads. Okay, don't think it's always perfect. That's why it's nice when you see a great lifter and you see when their technique breaks down, you see what happens, and you can see, oh, okay, that's why it says head back, elbows under, whatever, yeah, whatever it is. Yes, so if they're flaring their elbows at relatively low intensities, I'll be tempted with that person to probably stick to dumbbell bench presses most of the time. Okay. Because then if you can move your hand, there's a little bit less stress on the shoulder, you're not stuck with the straight bar. But if they're determined to use the barbell, right, if they can flare their elbows while using a reverse grip, then they have the most monstrously flexible shoulders ever. Right, so a good way to teach a tuck in the elbows is a reverse grip bench press. There's a few differences if you're doing the reverse grip bench. You would line up a lot lower down, right? Mid-chest is where you'd have the bar and you take it out because you're going to be coming low. You're becoming low on your body. Okay, do not line up at eye level. You'll be bringing the bar out massive amount. Okay, you want to move the bar as little as possible, you know, to set up. But yeah, and you'd have a closer grip as well for a reverse grip bench press as well. Okay, but that's something which could teach that tuck position. Yeah. Does that answer your question all right?
Well, yeah, so I presume it's a lot safer, and I'm sure my shoulders are a bit, since I've kind of reverted to slightly more of a tucked in position, I seem to have been less aggravated shoulder-wise.
Oh, good. Excellent.
So that seems to have helped.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, we all, and this is where I get a little bit controversial. Ooh.
Yeah.
even though I'm a powerlifter, the bench press, at some point, if you do it for long enough and hard enough, will give you shoulder issues. Yeah, if you don't, you're lucky. You're real lucky. Yeah, yeah. As far as the sort of the main upper body lift goes, I'd say the main upper body push is the press, not the bench press.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for
Mike Marlin's a big one on that, isn't he? He loves his press.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of people are. A lot of people are. And,
you said you get upper pec development from. You get pec development from.
Yeah.
A good military press.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time it depends on the person. Yeah, I've seen so many of the old-time weightlifters who did the clean and press. It used to be 3 Olympic lifts before 1972, as well as the snatch and the clean and jerk, you had the clean and press. And you had guys like Ken Patera, who's an American lifter, massive upper chest. You know, he was a powerlifter as well, so maybe that's not a good analogy. But you would see Olympic lifters with more upper pec development than you do now, just because they had to press, and now they don't, right? But you still saw some guys with massive shoulders and arms, or shoulders and triceps, but didn't have much pec development. So I think it depends on the person a little bit. I think you can. And also, obviously, it also depends on the shoulder position as well. You know, if you're, okay, this is for a little bit later on when we do the press. For most people, I'd quite like to have this narrow grip, so the elbows are under. Okay, I think that's a lot easier on the shoulder than a wide grip press. A lot more stress here, a little bit like the bench, I suppose. Yeah. And it's possible that with this narrower grip you do get a bit more upper pecking. But yeah, it depends on so many things. I wouldn't use it as an upper pecking exercise. Yeah, if I was training someone, I'd stick to incline benches and stuff like that. And even that, sometimes doesn't work. You know, I remember back in the old days, it was Franco and Arnold days, and Franco Columba had this great big line in his upper chest, or in his pecs. It was just a natural groove. You know, it's a bit like, you know, people have different shaped biceps. He just had this groove, and he used to say in Muscle and Fiction, "Oh, I do my incline benches before my flat benches." Yeah, but then when I speak to guys in you, he never did incline. He always used to load up the bench with about 550 pounds and do 3 to 5 reps with it, you know, like in pumping iron. Yeah, he didn't do inclines, he's joking. So, yeah, a lot of the time, you know, take what you hear with a pinch of salt. Yeah, Mike Mallo's got no reason to lie. But Mike Mallo's not a